Warning, incoming game over. Warning, incoming game over.
Starting on the right foot, are you not entertained? Our intro was a little buggy there as we started out, but you know what? It doesn't matter because friends, mes amis, bonsoir. Welcome to Game Over Montreal. The Montreal Canadiens are going to the motherfucking playoffs. What?
Can't believe it.
This
Oh my
is
God.
happening.
Yes.
I can't believe it. Like, I was
Oh my
positive
God.
coming into the year, but still.
I wasn't. Oh my God. I can't stop smiling. I'm just so happy.
Oh man, Denis in the chat says that the podcast tried to start playing on his phone at the same time as we went live. Every app's trying to celebrate with Game Over Montreal. I mean, let's be honest. I don't think it was a game that we will look back on with a lot of fondness in terms of how they played it, but they found a way. And let's be real, this game was for K. Caden Gooley,
Yes.
2 goals. Captain
Yes,
Nick Suzuki hits 30 goals, second straight season.
he does.
And then Jake Evans, who only scores bangers,
He only
scores to
scores
clinch
bang.
it. Like, who's not happy right now?
Oh man. Whatever Galley did to his hand or whatever is not happy, but the rest of us, hey, even though he's probably happy. Honestly, he probably doesn't care right now. He's like, who cares? What's happening? We're here.
100%. I'm just going to quickly, before we get too deep into this, just go through the chat a little bit and welcome everybody to the show. I see Bernardo's here. Andrew Gisbricht is here. Alexandre Christian with a comment that almost made me tear up said, "Hey guys, we get to be together at least 4 more times."
Oh,
I
oh.
see Jean-Francois Perry is here. MFM is here. Outrage. Jeffrey Delaroy. Trinka. Conrad is here from Calgary. Denis. Jay Carter is singing Over Montreal in the chat. Rick Kemp is here. Like, folks, this is fantastic. Hi, Claire in the chat. We are actually doing a playoff game for Game Over Montreal. We've never been able to do this.
I know.
I started this venture as soon as the Canadiens had that magical Stanley Cup final run and then became the worst team in the league. You know, we started Game Over Montreal at SDPN, and we made a meme at one point that I had to start every recap with another Montreal Canadiens
I
loss.
remember that.
It's not even 4 years on, Kay, and they're in the playoffs. Like, no one could have predicted this.
I can't believe it. This is insane. I came into this year with my expectations not anywhere near here. We laughed at them, Andrew. We laughed at them. We all made memes and jokes when they were like, oh, we want to be in the mix. Like, we were like, for a while, I was like, what mix? Like the cocktail shaker? Like at the start of the year, it truly felt like they were just gonna drive their fans to insane things. And then they did it. And it's been up and down, but they did it. And oh my God, they did it. Andrew, they did it.
Yeah, I see. King of the North says that Kay crashed out before the game, so we didn't have to after it.
Exactly.
Which is pretty great. And Bernardo brings up that Lane Hutson tied Larry Murphy for the all-time rookie point scoring record, which is insane. Completely insane. King of the North says, Andrew, I'd kiss you on the bald ass head if I could. What a time. I would let you. Good vibes only tonight, folks. Ivan Demidov is here. I didn't get to talk about it last game. I know Kay did.
Yes.
But absolutely magical to have that debut. It's a shame that they bottled that.
Hey, they let him have his moment. You know, they let him have it. They were like, this is the only thing this game will be known for. Ivan, you get to have this. Good for them.
Fantastic. Gary M says, Habs were lucky to win this game. The Canes without 7 regular. I mean, absolutely.
But they put themselves in this position. They gave them this chance.
They earned the chance to have a game like this down the stretch by winning a bunch of tough games earlier in the season. Like
Mhm.
that's something that we have to keep in mind when we're talking about the way the season ended is they were able to have this hiccup at the end because of what they accomplished going into it. And we wouldn't have expected this at the beginning of the
Mhm.
year. If
Mhm.
in September somebody told you the Canadians would be in a playoff position and have to lose to miss the playoffs, I think we'd all be pretty damn pleased.
Yeah. Yeah. In fact, I would probably be borderline embarrassed that somebody told me that. I'd be like, "What are you guys, like, on?" It's just truly this is what a place to be, what a time to be a Habs fan, and they made it stressful. They gave us the drama as they have been this entire season. They haven't made anything easy on themselves, but at the end of the day, they did it. And guess who scored when he needed to? Nick Suzuki, who's been on the struggle bus a little, in my opinion. And guess what? It didn't matter. He still did it. And aren't we so lucky to have that man as our captain?
Beyond lucky. And I think Suzuki might be nursing a little something after that hit from
I would
behind.
agree. Mhm.
He has seemed a little bit shaken up, but that doesn't mean you can give him 5 minutes to shoot the puck, Carolina. That was an interesting choice.
No.
Great pass by Alex Carrier and fantastic play to create that situation from Uri Slavkovsky, who I thought
Mhm.
looked kind of tough in the first period. The Canadians, for the last 4 games, I think have been very, very nervous. I
Mhm.
think that they are in this situation, and it's kind of the same as the beginning of the season, where they have a vision of what they want to be. And at the beginning of the season, they lost Line and Reinbacher in the one game and started kind of flat, and I think
Yeah.
got down on themselves and then found themselves as the season went along. Partially with Line coming back, also the Carrier trade really helped them up or helped them
Mhm.
out. But I think getting to the point where they were in a power position at the end, they allowed it to get to them a little bit and wondered if they were ready. And they were gripping the sticks like crazy. But after a bit of a rough one to start the season or to start the first period, I thought Slavkovsky was arguably the best
Yeah.
player on the ice the final 40.
I would agree. I would agree so much. I have been extremely protective of Yuri Slavkovsky, especially to start this game. I was like, we have this fan base, and I think every fan base does, but us especially have really bad new toy syndrome. And I was seeing a lot of it with like demote him. And first of all, hot take, I would have Slav, Nick, and Demidov if we were going to do anything to that top line. But we aren't because that's not a body like even let's say 2.5 games of is not enough of a body of work for them to be taken apart. But who cares about any of that? What matters is he was able to elevate. I think even last game, to be honest, he started off well. The entire team, like, shat the bed eventually, but I felt like he really elevated his game with, the moment, like, he matched the moment, and then when the rest of the team started sagging in the moment, he was like, "Well, guys, guess we're sagging together." So that's what he did. But he was able to get himself together, and man, the second youngest guy on the team, there were a few by the way, just a really cute, like, little note of, like, we saw a few times where he was, like, patting, Demidov on the head, just like, "Oh, you'll be okay, buddy," and I'm like, "You're not the baby anymore, you're the second baby now."
It's always tough when you're not the baby anymore.
No.
You get higher expectations on you. But you know what? I've been really impressed with this team mentally because I
Mhm,
think we talk a lot about professional sports and like there's a certain expectation when you're in professional sports. And I
mhm,
think a lot of people try to eliminate the human element and they just have the expectations of what should be there every game. But this is a very young team, a very inexperienced team. There's very few players in this team who've made runs like this. The way that they've stuck with each other down the stretch, yes, they've stumbled. They're supposed to stumble. Like this
yeah.
is a team that still doesn't have a second line. It
This
is
is when
great,
they're supposed to stumble, like, this is the time where they're meant to stumble. In fact, they were
100%.
probably meant to stumble a little bit more. Uh I know people were really like, they didn't meet the moment, and like, I totally agree. They were struggling, but this is when you learn. And I would have hated it because we would have got cloud on so bad, Andrew. We would have gotten it so bad from like at least 5 different fan bases for like fumbling it,
Yep.
but they didn't. And at the end of the day, it's not about me, it's about them. And the fact that they were able to get it together, it is also kind of about me. I'm not gonna lie. I mean, we're a unit, okay? I was out there. My superstitions, me putting out my like little print of art that I made about Nick Suzuki and putting out a puck and putting out 3 different hockey cards, that helped them. I am just saying. I'm saying I contributed here, okay?
Of course. Of course. The superstitions are real. All that stuff, of course, right? Uh, I saw some questions about Demidov. We will definitely talk Demidov. I'm excited to talk Demidov because I haven't been able to yet. I also want to talk about the playoffs, do a little bit of a preview. I also want to talk in the second segment, kind of like a recap of how we got to this point. Like, just talk about this season as it was and the things that had to happen to get to this point. Uh, it's really fun times right now, and I think this is something that Habs fans. I understand the nervousness over the last several games here. You want to make the playoffs, but I think the attitude that everyone needs to bring into this playoff series from a fan perspective is this is found money. And everything that happens this year is just setting the table for when this team is competitive. Because let's be real, this team shouldn't be here.
No.
Like, Josh Anderson, Christian Dvorak, and Brendan Gallagher should not be a line that is as good as they are. Like, they have found a way to create 3 lines that are quite good between the Slav line, which is very, very good with Suzuki and Caufield, the Dvorak line, and then the Evans line, which is an excellent 4th line when Heineman's on there and kind
Back
of
to form.
mediocre without, but still.
Hey, hey, the duo stays well, but we have to figure out what goes in that. And honestly, I think they've been really back to form today. They were the monsters that they needed. I'm not sure if you saw, but Marty started that line, which is something he was doing all through that big like win streak after the Four Nations because they were setting the tone. And
Yep.
then Heineman gets injured. Jake Evans is dealing with the stress of his contract. Armia, I'm sure, is still kind of dealing with whatever's happening there. Everything goes on. They struggle a little bit. UL Armia gets hurt. We all know something's happened to his hand. Uh, Heineman comes back. Things don't look the same. They break it up and they put it back together and it works. Sometimes you just have to turn it on and off. And apparently that's what Marty did with the 4th line. You just have to turn it on and off.
It works.
Just keep
Sometimes
it
you
off
got to do it.
for like a game or two. Exactly.
Sometimes it's just what you got to do a little bit, you know? Um, I'm struggling for words almost because I was hoping that we would be here,
Yeah.
but I didn't think it was likely. I think, when I was predicting this season, like trying to throw things at the wall a little bit and see how people felt and see what the Canadians would look like going forward. I said that I wouldn't be surprised if they made the playoffs. Like, there's a possibility that they could make the playoffs. But that was predicated on the idea that Kirby Dach would recover and
Yeah.
by mid-season be a second line center. This team doesn't have a second line. Like, line A
No.
will score on the power play, yes. Ivan Demidov eventually will be the centerpiece of a line. Maybe not center, but he will be the engine
Yeah.
that drives a line. But that's unfair to expect of him right this moment. And I don't think Alex
Yeah.
Newhook is a long-term center. So, like, they've got 3 pieces that are decent pieces, but don't fit together at the moment at
Yeah.
5-on-5. And even still, like, that's probably the best 3 pieces they've had all year.
Mhm.
And it's not there. But man, the future is so bright.
I'm sorry. I can't even think. I'm just like I've been like really just man, I I'm just not like I think we're all kind of just dealing with the world being the way it is. And I was
Yep.
like, I don't know how I'll handle this. like blow to what's happening right now. And they got it back. And I honestly, Andrew, was like, at first I was like, I don't want them to clinch because another team lost. Like that little stretch where the Blue Jackets could have lost to Washington, which by the way, Washington just got their ass kicked because they decided they don't care for the rest of the season anymore. Whatever. Um, and they fear us, that too. That's also why they lost, because they fear us. Um,
No doubt.
but I was like, "Oh, I don't want that." And then eventually I became like, "Maybe I do want that because these guys don't seem to match the moment." But finally they did it. And we've seen this time and time again when things come down to it, when Kent Hughes is threatening to trade away your emotional support, Jake Evans, you step up. You finally step up. Um, I can't believe just like what, 3, 4 weeks ago, or like it must have been longer than that, but like it feels so recently like Caden Gooley got like his thigh lacerated.
Yep.
Reports where it was really, really bad, and then he came back and you know, Lane Hutson doing Lane Hutson things. And Ivan Demidov, can we can we just I just don't know what to say. I'm just seeing Zach, by the way, in the chat, who said, "Okay, how many times did you go between it's so over and we're so back tonight?" I think I broke the it's so over, we're so back scale. I think we went so back and forth.
Oh man. All right. I want to try to get a little bit on the rails here because it's tough. We're
Mhm,
having too much fun watching these
mhm.
Montreal Canadiens and experiencing this with them. Watching this group of kids succeed by the power of friendship is incredible. I'm gonna shift to the
A
second
few
period here,
uncles
though.
and a few new
uh,
babies.
Can you? Yeah. I'm going to shift to the second period here in a moment. Before I do, though, I'm going to help you guys check out Inshu Bijou. As always, the advertising that we do on Game Over Network is hyper local, and we're trying to work with partners that will actually benefit your life. So I highly suggest that you check out Inshu Bijou. It's a goth glam jewelry store, but also has tons of other stuff from like stickers and all kinds of things that you can find in there, and they're extremely awesome in the community. So definitely check them out. And when we come back, I'm also going to put the chat on the screen because I just want to be a little bit more interactive tonight and make sure that you guys see that we care what you think, because this is our community. You know, like we are experiencing this together, and that's what makes sports fun. Is like that's why people pay me so much money to go to the games, right? You can
Yeah.
watch on TV and experience it. It's phenomenal. But in the arena, it's that collective enjoyment. It's not like you have better sight lines for most people. You know,
Yeah.
there's a reason why we go. And this is it. It's to celebrate together, to feel pain together. And it's playoffs, so we're going to feel some pain, but
Yep.
we're in a good spot. Third segment, we'll also do a little bit of a preview of the playoffs and feel how we feel about our feelings. We'll get some questions from the chat. It's going to be a vibey night here on Game Over Montreal. Check out
Yes, I
Inshu
will.
Bijou. We are so excited to tell you about our new partner here at Game Over Montreal, a delightfully witchy goth and glam jewelry store making handcrafted art that varies from subtle silver to gold pieces to glamorous bespoke. Inshu Bijou is more than just a company. They've built a community through advocacy and a welcoming attitude that has made them an institution here in Montreal. Located in the historic Chateau Saint Ambroise, Inshu Bijou also runs seasonal themed markets called Maleficarum Market, or Marché Maleficarum en français, where artisans from all over get together and showcase and sell their wares. Drop by 4000 Rue Saint Ambroise, Suite 278, and say hi to Astrid and the Wicked team. Or head to inchubijou.com and enhance your style. The next Maleficarum Market will be on the weekend of February 8th and 9th. We'll see you there. Now, let's get back to the show, but before you do, make sure you subscribe to Game Over Montreal, Game Over Network, and smash like on this video because it really helps us out. Welcome back to Game Over Montreal. I am Andrew Berkshire. I'm here with Kay, Imam. We are going to talk about the Montreal Canadiens and the fact that they're in the playoffs and how they got here. That's how we're going to start. Because I don't want to oversimplify things, but I feel like we can kind of point the finger at two things. Number one is the captain. I think that is the biggest factor that has the
Mhm.
Canadiens where they are right now. And I'm gonna ignore like organizationally, just I'm talking about just on the team, the players. And the other biggest factor, not to just take anything away from anyone, but the other biggest factor is Lane Hutson.
Yes, I agree.
The two of them this season, I mean, Suzuki's work goes way beyond this season. I think that he is not just on the ice a phenomenal leader who finds the moment constantly, an immensely talented individual who puts up a lot of points and creates a lot of great defensive plays. I think off the ice, his attitude and his approach to the game has spread throughout the locker room and made other players in this team better players. I would call it similar to like the Crosby effect. It's not going to be the same, but that old joke about the Pittsburgh Penguins where they always have a Buzz Flibbit or a Mark Donk to throw out there and they'll get 30 goals. That's not because the Pittsburgh Penguins were great at drafting and developing or anything. I think it's because they found players who were okay and put them alongside Sidney Crosby, not just on his line, but in practice every single day. And you see the work habits, you see the dedication. And how do you not follow suit when you see a guy that on? And I think Nick Suzuki is that guy, not just in practice, but mentally. He's always thinking of something, to do something different, to find something else to add to his game. And I think that is infected in a good way the rest of the lineup. And Lane Hutson, the skill injection is just, what do you even say?
Yeah, absolutely. Just even more than I could have imagined. And I think all of us had really high expectations. And for him to just be like, okay, well, I guess I'll meet him and more. Which, by the way, he broke another record today. Let me find the exact wording because I don't want to mess it up. But Lane Hutson's just breaking franchise and league records, and man, we got a good one.
We really did. All credit to Hughes and Gorton for making that pick in the second round. A lot of teams clearly weren't brave enough. Credit to Lane Hutson's endocrinologist who gave him the report that said that he would grow. He did a little bit.
Yeah.
And man, is he ever good. I didn't like how many hits he took tonight. I think the last couple of games, I was not happy with how many runs were being thrown at Suzuki and Hutson in particular.
Yeah, there were a few elbows.
But they
can
showed
I
they
just
could take
say
it.
the record, just because I do want to get it out there?
Yes, do it.
So yes, Lane Hutson moved into a tie for the most assists by a rookie defenseman in NHL history. I'm not sure if I don't think he got any more assists after that. He tied with 60 assists to Larry Murphy. Don't know if you know, but kind of a good player. It's Man, I never thought I'd be this happy for an American. I'll put it that way.
Especially in the context of this year. No
Yeah.
kidding. I mean, clearly what we need to do with the Canadiens is do the reverse of what the Americans have done to Canadian stars for the last several years. So when Caufield and Hutson have kids, they get to be Canadian now.
Yeah.
We can use their kids to win more stuff later. But fact is, what they've been able to do this year is beyond impressive. And yeah, a lot of it is the improvement of the young players for sure. Hutson, Suzuki, Caufield getting the goals back, Slavkovsky stepping up down the stretch. But man, the veterans have been incredible too. That's maybe even the more surprising thing is that this team has managed to, I don't want to say squeeze blood from a stone, but
Yeah.
even last year where there was the hints of Anderson starting to pull himself out of the rough first few seasons that he had as a Montreal Canadien and starting to build himself into a player that had more to offer, I still did not think that he could get to the point that he has gotten to this year, where he won the Jacques Beauchamp unsung hero award for the Canadiens, awarded by Habs Media, which I think is a good choice. My choice would have been Montembeault, but I think Anderson or Dvorak equally deserving. You got Dvorak as well. Ask me last year at this exact moment what I thought of Christian Dvorak going into this season. it's not
Yeah.
going to be pretty, you know? And Gallagher, I thought, had a good chance to find himself a bit, but I didn't expect him to have a season like he did.
Hmm.
They have found ways to get the most out of players and to evolve the games of players who shouldn't necessarily be developing anymore. And
Yeah.
I remember when Marty was first hired and he talked about believing that hockey sense was something that could be taught. And he kind of got
Hmm.
laughed at by some like hockey old heads, right? That's not a thing that you can teach. Like the NHL is not a development league. I'm sorry, he's
Well,
proved your
guess what,
asses
buddy?
wrong.
Yeah.
There's no end stage of development. If you're not working to get better, you're falling behind. And the
Hmm.
Canadians have worked with these players to get better consistently, even players that from a fan perspective, we might have looked at and said, this is a lost cause. This is sunk cost, like
Hmm.
Anderson, like Dvorak. So I'm going to say, in the spirit of positivity right now, as much as I'm sure that we're all very cagey about it, don't give up on Kirby Doc.
No.
Are you? Oh, yeah, you are frozen on the stream. That's okay. I can still hear you at least. Turn on your camera off and on Discord, maybe. Oh, I can hear you. Okay. That's weird. Discord must be messing up. So what I'm going to do is turn it on and off again because sometimes that works. I apologize, folks. We will get K back shortly. Is it? Oh, this is not even allowing me to go into it. Okay. We will fix this. I can hear K. Apparently you all can't, but we will fix it. Control center maybe, and then we'll go back to Discord. Will that work? Showing Discord. And minimize. No? There we go. Wait. The heck?
Oh,
Where is
nope.
my room?
Oh, no.
Oh, it's minimizing both my Discord windows. That doesn't make any sense. There we go. Now it's up. And one guest scene. Transition. Kay should be back now. Kay, do a sound check for me.
Hello. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3.
There we
Testing. I'm
go. We
back.
are back. Just like the
Okay.
Canadians, we're not all there tonight. But I'm blaming
It's so
OBS or Discord for
over.
that.
We're so back. Yeah.
Yeah, I see
As
that in the chat.
as Zach
So
said. Yeah.
I don't know how much you all heard of what Kay was saying, but she was talking about Marty St. Louis and she wanted to bring up Rick Springhetti's point. So let's take it off from there.
Yeah. Rich Moretti earlier said Marty St. Louis is a huge factor. I mean, he talks like an intelligent adult, and players follow suit. He doesn't dumb it down, and too many coaches do. And I just think that like that's part of what makes him so effective with players in every stage of their careers because um young people don't like feeling talked down to. They like feeling respected. And obviously the vets don't want to feel talked down to either. I think that this team has something really special in all the pieces, as Kent Hughes said, and he was really hesitant to say this, which I almost appreciate because I hate it when bosses are like, "Oh, we're a family" or whatever. But he almost sounded like hesitant to say it, and he was like, "It kind of feels like he said something about it feeling like a family," and I was like, "Yes, Kent, it kind of does," and there's something beautiful about that.
Yeah, I mean, we've
And
talked
just
all
I
year
yeah.
about like them being driven by the power of friendship, right? And part of that is tongue in cheek that we know that this
Oh,
team, like on talent, is not necessarily a
mhm,
playoff team,
mhm,
but they do have something. They have
yeah.
found something in that
Mhm,
locker room that holds them together in a way that like good teams hope to have, and that they already
Again,
have it
also
when they're
has a
not
lot to do
great.
with Nick Suzuki. This is
Yes,
where we also give a lot of credit to Nick Suzuki as a leader.
I 100% agree, and I agree with Rick as well that uh, Marty treats them like human beings, and also doesn't like the way that he manages things from an ice time perspective, or like when you make a mistake, also treats them like adults, right? It's not just
Mm,
about talking to them or like talking to the media and showing respect. It's when you make a mistake and you were trying to make the right play, Marty St. Louis is in your corner.
yeah.
You know, most coaches I don't think would have given Lane Hutson the latitude this year to do what he's done.
Mhm,
And that is the kind of thing that with Ivan Demidov is very exciting.
mhm,
Very
mm.
exciting. And I know he barely played in the third period tonight, but we're going to see a lot of Ivan Demidov in a Montreal Canadiens jersey. Very damn exciting.
Yeah, yeah, and I just to point out, I did, and I'm stealing this from somebody I follow on Blue Sky, and I retweeted or reposted them, so if you wanna see them, they're over there. Just something about, like, it's really different in a situation like this, it's not Rottenberg. What he was doing was punishing and being petty with a guy who had proved already that he could do it. This is Marty just being really cautious. Apparently, he should have been with what they did near the end. Um, and he's still learning how to play in the NHL. Um, and I just think it's fun because Marty still put him out there on the second unit. Now I know everybody's baying for the first unit to have him. That's a different conversation. But the fact that he's even out there on the second unit on his second game in the NHL, not many coaches would do this. And we're really lucky to have a guy who's willing to put what's right for the team over his own ego. Because a lot of coaches could, there's a certain amount of like, you have to earn it. You have to suffer through something to be able to play those minutes. And that's just not how the world works. So I'm really glad that we have a coach who is willing to take a gentle parent approach.
Yeah, it's really refreshing, you know. And you brought up something I was actually thinking of the other day in a different context, which was that idea that in order to earn something, you must suffer for it. It's very much like an intrinsic part of like American capitalism, that the
Mhm.
only way you can earn something is by suffering for it, or like the hard work, that's how you get ahead, and kind
Yeah.
of throws everything that isn't working for cash away as like meaningful or valuable work, right? And
Hmm.
that's how we get things. Well, I mean, a lot of what's driving that opinion is misogyny, let's be real, and
Hmm.
devaluing women's work. But getting off topic, the new school approach of Marty St. Louis, who is in many ways an old school person in hockey,
Hmm.
it is extremely interesting to see how many times that approach has been proven right in a very short window. And that's the kind of thing that gets me excited about this team, because Reinbacher's not even here yet.
No.
Jacob Fowler is not in the NHL yet. You know,
Yeah.
Ivan Demidov, this is a cup of tea. This is
Yeah.
not the Ivan Demidov that we will see through his prime. Like, can you imagine this team when Uri Slavkovsky's 25 years old?
Disgusting.
Like, I was looking, we were live, or not live, but like we were in the lounge on the Discord during the game, just kind of like chatting, and we were talking about what Slavkovsky can be.
Mhm.
And I was kind of looking at Brady Tkachuk a little bit because they get compared a lot. And Brady Tkachuk had his like big breakout season at 20 and really solidified as like a top guy at 23.
Mhm.
Slavkovsky's only 21.
Mhm.
And apples to apples, he's been healthier and I think better than Brady Tkachuk at
Mhm.
19 and 20. So remember that Brady
Mhm.
Tkachuk, his birthday, he's a late birthday for his draft year. He was 19 when he started. He turned
Mhm.
like September 16th, I think, is something, is his birthday.
Mhm.
Like just at the cutoff, or just past the cutoff.
Mhm.
So his 22-year-old season was turning 22 before the season.
Mhm.
Slavkovsky just turned 21, what, a couple weeks ago?
Yeah. Very
So like
recently.
he's still a baby.
He really is still a baby. And I think like I hate doing the comparison thing, honestly. Just I think everybody, it's just it's an easier way to make some analysis accessible to people. So I totally understand why people do it. But there's a reason why the term that this administration always used with Slavkovsky was a unicorn. And I truly think, and today we saw it in the every single goal I want to say, except maybe the empty netter. Um, he was a huge factor.
Yep.
The one goal that was the Nick Suzuki goal, I think, he had two guys on him and a third guy ready to take the puck when it like came out of the scrum, and he sent it to Carrier. Carrier Carrier flubbed it the first time he sent it, but like then Slav won it back and was like, "Here you go, try again," and Carrier did. Speaking of whom, Trinka says, "Sorry, I'm distracted. Alexander Carrier is doing his presser. He has Disney princess eyes. Sorry, just not relevant, but I just need to let everybody know his eyes shine like he's like got a like ring light on him at all times. I don't know what's happening.
He's just a beautiful person, clearly.
Just joy.
That
Adam
light
says
is the
if Slav
power
can
of
play
friendship.
like this, exactly, exactly. Adam says if Slav can play like this in the playoffs, he'd be a hell of a good pick at first overall. Overall, I
Yep.
agree. I think I don't want to say, like, I'm not putting the judgment on, we'll see what he is in this playoffs, like, if he can't show it, whatever. But I think the playoffs are a great atmosphere and chance for him to show the what he's developed, what he could do and what he's developed. I'd like to just like let everybody, like to remind everybody, he was the face of Slovakian hockey for since he was practically a baby. And he's been willing to call out like their hockey federation over there and be like they're doing it, talking about all those things. This is a guy who's not afraid of the moment, and that is really important for a young player. Um, they don't want this team, and this is the doomerism in me before we went into this game that I was like, I don't want the loser stink to linger on them. I want to get the loser stink off them. And I was thinking of a few other teams while I was talking about that. And I don't
One
think
in
it would have
particular,
honestly,
maybe.
one in particular, maybe, very close to me, just physically, but but also I just like for me, it's more just I don't think this would have been like permanent loser stink, but man, it would have been a long summer. It would have been a long summer. I don't think this admin would have made any panic moves, but the people would surely want some. That's all I'm gonna say.
It would not be a fun way to end the season, even though they would have accomplished more than they set out to, which
I
would
agree.
suck.
Yeah. Yeah.
And apologies to the Columbus Blue Jackets that their dream died tonight. And I feel like we have to kind of mention how amazing of a story that has been this year.
Totally. Totally.
Sean Monahan specifically, who we all
Yeah.
know and adore, has had
Yeah.
an absolute renaissance season. Like
Yeah.
he pulled himself back from almost retirement with the Canadiens and had
Truly.
very good results here. In Columbus, he's been astonishing playing for his
Hmm.
friend Johnny,
Yeah.
who was taken from us all in the summer.
Yeah.
And the fact that they almost made it with the team that they have makes no sense and is astonishing. As much as the Canadiens are a great story, that is an
Hmm.
equally great story. So it sucks that we don't get both.
Hmm.
Damn it, Senators. But you know what? You can make it up to us by beating the Leafs. We were
Yeah.
talking
Yeah.
during the game with Mike from Game Over Ottawa, and if the Leafs lose to the Sens this year, I'm sorry, but that's it for that core. Like that
Yeah.
means that they've lost playoff series to the Bruins multiple times, to the Habs and the Sens. If you go over against all your rivals when you're supposed to be like the big cheese, like you're supposed to be the team that has the superstars and the
Hmm.
core that can win. Sorry, you're losers forever. Like I don't care what happens after that. You're done. You've got to blow it
As I
up.
said, losers stink. As I said, losers stink. I'll just, yeah.
Losers stink. All right, I want to talk about the playoffs and the Washington Capitals and how the Canadiens match up to them in a minute here. But before we do, I got to tell you guys about Saint Motel, a selfie studio in Le Sud-Ouest Montreal, which is fantastic, right next to Inchu Bijou. And for the playoffs, we might actually have some more partners to share with you guys. An interesting time. I've been busy the last couple of weeks. Why I haven't been on here as much. But let's talk about that on the other side. Looking to make awesome memories with your friends? Take some promotional pictures or videos for your business? Check out Le Saint Motel in Montreal's Sud-West borough. It's an amazing selfie studio located in Montreal's historic Chateau Saint-Ambroise, right next to Inchu Bijou. It boasts 12 plus unique decors for you to enjoy and make memories with. Hop into their iconic heart-shaped ball pit or transport yourself back in time to Expo 67. Le Saint Motel can also come to you with mobile decor setups available to rent for events, including setup and takedown, or you can head to lesaintmotel.com right now for more details, or to check out their amazing decors that are always being updated. Now, let's get back to the show, but before you do, make sure you subscribe to Game Over Montreal, Game Over Network, and smash like on this video because it really helps us out. Thanks so much, everyone, for listening to our ads. Welcome back. This is Andrew Berkshire and Imam for Game Over Montreal. Montreal Canadiens are in the playoffs, folks. They're going to play the Washington Capitals, who are the top team in the East. It's a familiar scenario because the Canadiens were in this same spot in 2010. Also a team that had been rebuilt, but rebuilt on the fly. Not as successfully, but hey, they did some cool stuff in that era and had some good players that made a difference. They had a young phenom defenseman who was about to take the league by storm in PK Subban, similar to Lane Hutson. They had a goalie who was a little bit chaotic in Yaroslav Halak. They had a one-shot sniper in Mike Camilleri, kind of like Cole Caufield. They had a dynamic two-way center coming off of a great season in Thomas Plekanec, kind of like Nick Suzuki, but Suzuki is a significantly better player. And they had some punch down the lineup. I think that there are a lot of parallels between this season and 2010. And I also think that the Capitals as an organization have been solely focused for years on getting Alex Ovechkin that goals record. They have put together an amazing year in a very non-traditional way of building a team. What they've done is incredible. But Kay, I'm not afraid of the Washington. I think the Canadiens have a legit chance to win this series. And that's crazy to think about.
That is really insane to think about. Also, just to bolster your case, Priyanka Emirath also tweeted this, by the way, earlier today. The last time the Habs clinched a playoff berth in Game 82 was in 2010. Montreal needed just 1 point to clinch. They lost in OT, but they got their 1 point, and their opponent that first round, Washington Capitals. It is a very they can't keep getting away with this kind of story. And I would not be mad at it. I totally hear you. I totally understand what you're saying. I think they're one of their big guys too. I can't remember his name, is out with an injury.
Alexi Protas.
Yeah. Yes. I think that makes up for it by us not having a 2C. Frankly, it kind of balances. I don't think the odds are in Montreal's favor, but I wouldn't be shocked. I wouldn't be completely flabbergasted, let's just say, if they were able to get out of this round.
Yeah, Rick Kemp says, who's the team that has nothing to lose now? I mean, between the two of them, I mean, they both probably have nothing to lose. Like, Washington has accomplished what they set out to accomplish this season.
Yeah.
I think the way that they've played after that goal record kind of shows you that the energy might not be there. Now, it's the playoffs. Things change, right? But also the way that the Capitals have played, I know they're a different team, but the way that the Capitals have played in the playoffs since they won the Cup, not inspiring. And I think that the Canadiens are just hungrier. And if they manage to pull a split through Game 2 and come back home in Game 3 and score the first goal, please, Montreal Canadiens game ops, make the goal song L'Oreal or Laurier. Bring it back. Don't do the stuff they do now. Bring it back. Bring the aura back, and that building will explode. If it's somebody like Ivan
was ready to
Demidov,
explode so many times already.
Yeah.
I want to check the integrity of that roof. I need someone to do an inspection of the Bell Center and make sure that that roof isn't about to collapse.
They need
Genuinely,
to
what a
reinforce.
building. Truly. And they need to use Emil Heineman apparently to reinforce because he keeps breaking cars apparently. So
Oh God, poor Emil Heineman. Trinket in the chat says it's like when we were making the 2010 comparisons. Is like 2 years ago we just came up with a bunch of tenuous links between the '93 Habs and the current Habs. I think that was Mark and I together that we were just trying to figure out what crazy things we could do to like make it seem more fun. It was not that fun that year, but we got through it. The Canadiens are in the playoffs. Trinka also says Montreal is always a team that can capture lightning in a bottle, and I think that was way before Carey Price. It's true. The Canadiens
the ghosts,
find
girl,
ways.
the ghosts. The ghosts.
The ghosts exist. Bernardo Sonia says Carberry versus St. Louis rookie playoff coach should be cool. Yeah, you know what?
That's actually really great. Yeah. Didn't
That is
remember
super
that.
fun. And two
Mhm.
guys who I think look at things in a different way.
Mhm.
Heading into this playoffs, I think that there's two distinct things that give the Canadiens an advantage. I think there's a mental advantage in that they're the upstart underdogs with more to build towards. They know that this is something that, this isn't their only shot at the can, but this is the chance to prove that they're ready to take the next step even faster than we thought. Whereas the
Mhm.
Capitals, yeah, it might be their last kick at the can maybe with Ovechkin, but I don't think that they're a team built to make a long run. And the
Mhm.
other thing that I think is in Montreal's favor is that if the team is healthy, they actually are much stronger on paper than people are willing to give them credit for. Like we talked about, they're missing a second line, yes, but is it that out of the realm of possibility that Line A, Demidov, and Newhook could make things work functionally for a 7-game series? I don't think it is. And they've got 3 other
I don't
lines
think
that
it's
are
been
proven to
as
work.
much of a disaster either, honestly. And I know I'm in the unpopular side for this, but I don't think it's been a disaster so far. Touch and
Yeah, I
go,
mean,
but
it's
it's not been a
tiny
disaster.
sample size.
Yeah. Yeah.
And Demidov has 2 points in 2 games. Can't argue with that.
Point per game player, baby.
It's impressive. And I think the one thing that makes me nervous going into this playoff series is how the Canadiens have handled the defense. And full disclosure, I thought David Savard was phenomenal tonight. I thought it was his best
Mhm.
game in a very long time. But I
And he did it
don't.
without sitting on the puck.
Yes, he did. But I'm not sure I get the decision to ride Savard into the sunset at the end of the year here when they needed some points and sitting Arbor Jackeye. I think that will be a mistake that we feel in this first round, that at some point they're going to want him in the lineup and Arbor Jackeye is going to have to come in cold. And
Mhm.
hopefully he gets some penalty immunity in the playoffs because usually guys like him do a little bit. And that, I think, is a potentially series-changing thing if he plays well. But I think it's
Mhm.
tougher and tougher the longer he doesn't play to expect that of him. I'm not a huge fan of the defense pairs, but there's enough there to make something good if the Canadiens pick up the proper things. And I think the tough thing to do, we mentioned it last week, is I think they need to move Mike Matheson off of the first pair on defense and onto the third pair, which sounds crazy, but it doesn't mean he can't still play 22, 24 minutes a night. It's that
Mhm.
his regular shift will be less strenuous. Let Gooley and Carrier be the top matchup pairing. Then you can put
Mhm.
Matheson either with Jackeye or Savard, depending on matchup or what kind of energy you want that night. With Savard, they can be just a pure like PK and hold the fort pairing that Matheson's there and you can get the puck out in emergencies, right? Like Matheson's been great in that role. Savard as well.
Mhm.
And then you have Line A and Struble out there, and Matheson can get thrown, or not
Lane
Line A,
and
sorry, Lane
Hutson and
Hutson
Struble.
and Struble. And you can throw Matheson out instead of Struble if you need some offense, right? You
Mhm.
can get those
Mhm.
minutes for Matheson, but I think that this idea of, Matheson Savard being the top matchup pairing, it just doesn't make practical sense and it doesn't work long term. So I think that's my one worry going into these playoffs. Because I don't worry about Montembeault. I know some people do, but he's been money.
Mhm.
He's been much better down the stretch than people give him credit for. He's had to be good. Canadians have left him
Mhm.
out to dry a lot.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm not worried about the forwards that much either. I think they have the offense to pull it off. Defense is the big question mark. This is extremely exciting.
It's really exciting. Just to touch on the defense pairings a little, I was thinking about this, and it's such a no duh moment. And I feel again, it's very hockey man of me to say this, but I was thinking about like, of course, there's more to it than this, but I was thinking about why Struble and Hutson and why, in my mind, Gooley and Hutson works out so well. And I think it's because it's really nice to have a big guy out there who can lock down defensively with Hutson while also having an unexpected, which those shots today by Caden Gooley were funny. Um, by which I mean unexpected. Um, I totally agree that I think Carrier and Gooley are the best defensive pairing, but we'll see if Marty can figure that out. I thought the last two games, honestly, I feel like last game a lot of vets kind of stumbled a little, but I think David Smart was the one who did it, which was really funny. Um, but that is the portion of our team that I am most worried about. The forwards, I think there's enough there. Um, I'm really excited to see what an older version of Nick Suzuki than the one that we had with his last playoff runs can do here. Because we already saw him being able to step up and like take care of business. Of course, that was with a like generational goaltender shutting it down on the other end. But
True.
that doesn't make it any different. Like that doesn't change the fact that completely away from Carey Price, Nick Suzuki still did the things he did. I'm just really excited to see what he can do. There's so much potential here. I think if nothing else, I'm not willing to bet or honestly even say out loud what you are willing to say about this series. But I am willing to say that they are going to make it hard on the Capitals. It is not going to be an easy out. I don't see a sweep. I don't even see a 5-game series. I see a team that, with nothing to lose, as the chat pointed out, as you said, will they freeze up when they have expectations. So this is really something I noticed is that when they were up in the playoff race, they would slide back down. But
Mhm.
it seems they're most comfortable when they're like when they aren't when they're playing from a position of weakness. Um, and guess what, guys? Like this entire series, you're the underdogs. So
Yep.
if you want to give it your all, give it your all. Nobody's gonna stop you. People will doubt you, and it's up to that room just together to have the mental. I still like I. This is rambling, but to me, it's really just this team's mental side that will be tested the most in the playoffs. Of course, there's like the actual hockey, which is really valuable, but the mental toll of the playoffs. And I think Claire says that Jack Guy needs to play. I wasn't gonna outrage says Jack Guy needs to play just for the experience of nothing else. I also really agree with that. I think even just outside the practicality of the defense, I don't want Arbor Jack Guy to not know what playoff hockey feels like when the rest of the team does.
Yeah, I'm with you. And just to jump on what you were saying about Nick Suzuki, I see Adam Glingland put it really well. He said, "What Suzuki can do leading a young, healthy team instead of an old, battered team." That is so interesting. And King in the North also adds, remember how well young baby Nick Suzuki played against Crosby and Malkin in that play-in gimmick? And yeah, the confidence level. You know, I've been writing about Nick Suzuki for Habs Eyes and the Prize over the last couple weeks here,
Great
building a bit
series.
of a series for Big Nick Energy, which I'm calling it. And we're going to have some shirts and stuff with Big Nick Energy as well, because I love that nickname and it's just fun and nobody's doing it. So we're going to make some fun stuff for the playoffs. But the fact that he was able to match up against those superstars as a kid and did not waver. And for those
Mhm.
who remember that series against Philadelphia, which the Canadiens lost, when he like patted Carter Hart on the head, and the last two games of that series, when the Canadiens were facing elimination, who was the best player for them outside of Carey Price? I guess Nick Suzuki. Each game,
While being heavily
uh,
targeted, need I remind people, having
exactly.
him target on his back and still managing to do it. That is fortitude.
And that's with that's before Caufield. The following season, he had Caufield, but again, baby Caufield. Now we've got a different character here, and you've got Uri Slafkovsky to add to the mix, Lane Hutson, all these different factors. I think Suzuki is going to push some narratives away in these playoffs. I don't think we're going to be hearing much talk about Nick Suzuki not being a number one center after these playoffs. That's my prediction.
No, and it's going to be so much fun. I am going to be so smug this entire time. I think that's the really fun thing about this time right now is it's all found money, like you said. And the only thing these guys are playing for is themselves. And by themselves, I mean like they in the room, not just each guy playing for itself. Uh, that was a really complicated way of saying that, but I think that like just I can't wait until people and I think that this has been a thing that I've always thought. I always said that I think when the Canadians are in a position where they're good, people are going to be forced to admit how good Nick Suzuki is. And now that they're in this position where people are actually going to watch them because playoff hockey is just it's that season people will watch every game. I think you'll really get to see um the magic of Nick Suzuki because it's not always numbers, but now the numbers are coming too, and then you have the brain, and then you have like everything else he does, and it seems like it's all coming together. Just you gotta love it. You gotta love it.
You absolutely do. And I see there was a comment here from Charles Palmerlo. Sorry, says, do you speak in French or just in English? I'm learning French right now, Charles. The show is English. We plan to do some French episodes this year, but it didn't work out. We're going to do them next year. Marc Dumont, who is a co-host on the show, is fluent in French, but he's not able to do the evening games right now. So if we have an afternoon playoff game, you will see him in here, and he will definitely speak French. He loves speaking French to the folks here, and I try to throw some French in as we can. And if you put a comment in French in the chat, absolutely we will respond to it. I can't guarantee that I will be able to answer it nicely in French, just because I'm working on it. I'm trying. It's not all there yet. Let's take some questions
unfortunately,
from
I'm
the
in the same
chat.
I'm in the same boat. English is already my second language, so it's very hard, but I am doing my best. It is very important to me because I do love this. I'm not sure if you saw, but Adam Glingham told us in the chat, Demidov had a sick quote. Are you seeing it?
I have not seen it yet. I'm gonna switch to the overtime segment here where we can take some questions from the chat. Or wait, hold on. Did I not change the overlays for the last one? Either way, I'm gonna change them now. Apparently I forgot to do that. But where are they now? Sorry about this, folks. Down here. We're gonna go to the overtime. There we go. Now we're in the overtime. And then let's look at this quote from Ivan Demidov. Adam Gleeland shared it with us. Says Demidov says, Ovechkin is the greatest. It will be a pleasure to play against him, but even more enjoyable to beat him. My goodness, Mr. Second Game in the NHL.
He's
Let's
so
effing
sick.
go.
Isn't he so dope? Oh my god. The
Who?
bravery, the man, who says that?
This man just broke the all-time goal scoring record in the NHL, and he's like, can't wait to defeat him. Can't wait to eliminate my childhood hero.
And that's so I saw this interview from him before he came over. It's one of the things that he said, at how he can't wait to just I think this is the article Bernardo Sanier said that he said this on April 10th, to be fair. Listen, happened on April 10th, happened yesterday. It happens today. Who cares? He said it, and listen, Ovi is Russian. I'm sure he saw the quotes as much as we did. If nothing else, I can trust like a player like Ovechkin to have a sense of humor about it. No matter what else like about him, there is that one thing that he does. He's not as stuffy as a lot of those older players are. So if nothing else, I'm so happy that Ivan Demidov gets to have this moment. Also, guys, I'm trying really hard to say his name the way that is proper, but I do slip up occasionally. But we're trying. We're trying. We're trying
Yeah.
here.
I just want to talk about Demidov, right? That's how they want it pronounced.
Demidov, I think.
Demidov,
I
yeah. Either way, his first game, his first couple shifts, I was impressed. Even before he got the point, I think it was like his first or second shift. He went out there and he just demolished somebody.
He threw a hit, yeah.
A big hit along the boards, like hip through hip, really clean, exactly the kind of hit I want to see from a forward. And immediately I was like, Demidov's got that demi-dog in him. And I love that. Like, he is going to be a force, and I don't know if it's going to be right away in these playoffs. Like, he'll probably find ways to contribute. It might be kind of like when we saw Caufield his first year in the playoffs, right? Where like everything was trending to the right way, but the finish wasn't there in the playoffs. Like, he couldn't find a way to contribute in the way that he wanted to. We might see that with Demidov. The NHL playoffs are a big step, even from the KHL, even from the KHL playoff. But that kid has it. Like, he's going to be a star.
The way he handled that game, Andrew, it would have been so easy for him to crumble under pressure. And I think I'm not sure if you saw his post game, but he was so thoughtful in his answers too. He wasn't just trying to get out of there. It was clearly a lot and it was clearly overwhelming, and he still wanted to be part of it. And that's hard to do. I'm sure he was like really, it's not even just, we've seen more experienced players who've done more impressive things in the NHL melt under pressure. And that's not to say that he won't have trouble going forward, but that one moment where he lived up, the entire crowd was chanting his name, was cheering every time he like sneezed at the puck. It was insane. And there was this like, he was like on the bench when they cheered for his assist, and Alex Newhook must have been like, guys, my first goal in a long time. Come on, come on. But I'm sure he didn't mind. I'm sure he didn't mind. But that's hilarious to me is Alex Newhook finally put it in the net. And everyone was like, yeah, but like the assist.
It's all about
But what a gamer.
Demidov.
What a gamer. I love this kid, and I can't wait to have him make other teams, other fan bases hate our team even more than usual, because he's gonna be dunking on them on the regular, you know?
Well, I'm
That's what
excited to
you want
see.
ultimately.
Of course. Of course. I'm excited to see Sassy Suzuki too. Like, he is a very respectful player. He should be a Lady Bing finalist, if not the winner. But when you put Suzuki in a situation like the playoffs, some things come out, and he's not shy about trolling a little bit and getting the other team going. I think there's going to be some players on the Canadiens showing some sides that we haven't really seen from them in a while, because the games haven't been as intense, and that's super exciting.
Yeah, just really quick,
Actually,
Andrew, I did wanna,
yep.
yeah. I'm saying Adam Gligging is saying that I hope we gave Goulet a sufficient amount of love tonight. I did wanna point out just something really quickly, and I know that, like, I am the biggest glazer, so of course I wanna point it out. But sorry. But, Caden Goulet has been going out and talking to the media after every single one of these last, what, 4 losses. He has always faced the media. He's always been, of course, Nick Suzuki as well, but, and today this morning, I don't know, he said something about, "It's time. We will get it done." "We'll get her done" was actually the exact phrasing, which is so Western Canadian of him. And it's just after last game's penalty he took that led to that power play goal that kinda helped the Chicago Blackhawks gain that momentum again, I'm sure it felt really good. Um, I've always felt really weird about putting the pressure of, like, mini Shea Weber on him or Shea Weber light on him, but I think you see it sometimes. The leadership, and then just the play, he's been throwing his body like crazy. I just wanna take a second to really, really praise that, because it takes a lot to play next to a player like Lane Hutson and still be talked about when you're playing next to him. You know what I
No
mean?
kidding. Yep. I
Yeah.
know exactly what you mean. And he has been incredible. Did not expect Caden Gooley to be this much of a factor after coming back from that laceration. I
Mhm.
think most of us didn't expect him to play this season again. The
No.
fact that he's come back and essentially not missed a beat and been extraordinarily important to the Canadian stretch run here to make the playoffs, whether you want to focus on the leadership or the play on the ice or just like the attitude that he carries himself with, Caden Gooley is a core piece of this team. There's zero question in my mind that
I agree.
is incredibly important to the future of this team, that
Mhm.
he's part of the leadership group going forward. Like, this is an incredible moment for him. And he's probably a guy who's going to shrug off the limelight as well. You know, that
Yeah.
he won't put it on himself. And that's kind of the culture that the Canadians have built here. And it's good.
Mhm.
But I just love the guy. He's
Me too.
extraordinarily fun to watch and satisfying to watch. It's a
The
satisfying
man,
hockey player.
the way that he just, like, uses every little advantage he has over other guys to, like, unashamedly just he he's nasty, eh? Like, he will throw a
Yep.
few hits that I'm like, "That's borderline." And I'm okay with it 'cause it's on my team, but it's fine. And he's not willing to back down. He said something really funny the other day where he was like, "Oh, I feel pretty rested because of my time off, so I can throw these hits." And I'm like, "You mean the laceration? You mean the injury?" And what a time to have a career game, as the chat says. Like, what under this pressure, what a time to step up. Good for him.
Yeah, 100%. And, I don't think it's a coincidence that guys like Gooley and Suzuki stepped up today. That
Mhm.
Jake Evans was out there to finish it.
Jake
The,
Evans.
the guys that get you through, you know,
Yeah,
the guys who consistently step up. And Trinka mentions Josh Anderson. He had a fantastic game at moments
I
tonight. Like,
agree.
not everything was good, but like, I know he didn't finish on his breakaway, but the fact that he got that breakaway in that situation was really damn impressive. There's so many positives to look at. And I just wanted to circle back quickly before we move on. Uh, Claire mentioned with the Demidov that the emphasis is on the middle syllable. That is like the general rule for Russian last names. Is
Mhm.
We usually don't do it very well in North
No.
America. Like things like we talk about, like Ilya Kovalchuk, right? That's not how you pronounce it in Russian. I think it's a Kovalchuk. Kovalchuk. But a lot of Russian names, Kovalev, not Kovalev, Kovalev,
No.
right? It's all those names are wrong. Fedorov, not how you say it.
Mm.
We
Important to
say it
try it.
all wrong. But we're trying to get better, and we will continue to work to get better.
Yes.
Uh, that's the name of the game, right? If you're not trying to improve, you're falling behind. Trinket gets excited about the mention of Jake Evans. He only scores
Mhm.
bangers. I feel like we need a Jake Evans only scores bangers t-shirt as well. Something like
Yeah.
that.
We need to
I
figure out a
did.
way to take care of that. Yeah.
Yeah. Frederick Ouellette had a joke up further in the chat that I have lost now. Oh yes. Talking about Demidov, says in a few years it's going to be complete off. I want to
All
boo,
right.
but it's pretty
All
good.
right. All right. I hate that I like that.
Yeah.
I
Keck
hate that I
Shows
like
says that the trust that Kent Hughes showed for this team by extending Evans and not trading at the deadline, and they closed the book, or having him close the book tonight was so symbolic for me. Jake Evans,
Yeah.
beautiful,
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
The team asked for management to show faith in them. They did,
Mhm.
and they rewarded them
Yeah.
constantly.
Yeah.
Like, what can you ask for that's better than that for a rebuild?
A
Can't.
superstar, and we got ours.
Superstar.
Don't
Well, yeah, we got one. Yeah, that's true. Demidov. Reinbacher hasn't even joined the team. I saw earlier on when we were talking about pieces to come, Michael Hayes, who's
Mhm.
absolutely crushed it this year in the NCAA. There's a lot of really good pieces for the Montreal Canadiens, and there's a lot of depth pieces as well in Laval, who
Yeah.
are also going to have a very positive playoff experience coming forward here. Like, it's all good news for the Montreal Canadiens, which is like the opposite of the rest of the world. Make sure you smash like here on this stream if you're still with us. We have so much fun chatting with you here after every game. It really means a lot that we get to come back and do it for the playoffs for the first time on Game Over Montreal. The first ever Game Over Montreal playoff show, Kay. I want to get
Oh my God.
as many of us on as we can for that. I don't think Mark will be able to join us, maybe for like one period. We'll see. But
Mhm.
I'm so excited. King of the North says Florian Xhekaj is coming. Yes, he is.
What a
Like, I don't
diamond in the
know
rough.
how much you all have paid attention to Laval. I haven't been able to a lot this season, but talking with Scott Matla, who covers them for EOTP, they've been running out a fourth line with, I think it's Luke Tuck and Florian Xhekaj on the wings around,
Mhm.
I think it's Arsenault is the center, who's also a bit of a menace. And they've just been destroying teams. Like the
Yeah.
fourth line, I'm pretty
Yeah.
sure Tuck and Florian Xhekaj are either at or close to 20 goals each. You know, for a fourth
For
line.
for a guy I lost my mind about when I saw them draft, I have never looked stupider, and I am glad to. Like,
I think that's like a thing that I'm coming around on with Kent Hughes right now is I think whenever I have a gut reaction that's negative, I need to
mhm.
hold on to it a little bit.
Sometimes nepotism is good.
Does it count as nepotism if it's not somebody in a position of power? Because like Harper's not
Exactly.
exactly in
Yeah.
a
Yeah.
position of power, but frankly, the Canadians, even decisions that don't end up being great, or like moves that don't end up looking great, even short term, like Justin Barron, right? Didn't work
Mhm.
out to the way we expected for a player like Arturi Lehkonen. They turn around and turn that into Alex Carrier.
Mhm. Who is massive to our team.
Yeah, like it's just it's
Absolute
great.
massive.
And oh, there, Adam in the chat mentions we need to talk about the Victoire also in the playoffs. Like
Yes. Yes.
hockey in Montreal right now is experiencing a friggin' renaissance.
Yeah.
This
Isn't it
city is so hyped up.
the city of hockey, man? That's another thing that's so fun sometimes is I'm like, you guys will be forced to remember and acknowledge what Montreal is like when their hockey teams are on top, or
Yep.
competitive. Uh, I
Claire
saw really
mentions maybe Toronto is in as well. I'm not sure, but Claire mentions the Habs, Rock, and Victoire all in the playoffs so far. Montreal's the only city to have that. That's awesome.
that's awesome. And there
Yeah.
was this tweet, the Victor tweeted in support of the Habs, and I was like, this is how I know they're gonna win. Don't look at my tweets. Don't look at how panicked I was. I knew they were gonna win.
It's gonna be fun. I can't wait. I'm so excited for the playoffs. We're gonna have some playoff preview content for you. I'm
Can't wait.
actually working on something now. I haven't even had a chance to tell Kay about it, but we're gonna do like some like crossover playoff preview stuff with Locked On Canadians with Ian
I
and
love those
Laura.
guys.
Right? They're like our favorite
Sorry,
people. So
I had a live reaction, guys.
live react to random Game Over Montreal announcements. Also, I will have pieces continually for Habs Eyes on the Prize, which are here. There, it's a partnership with Game Over Montreal or Game Over Network, so there's lots to do there. If you're here and you still are supporting the stream, please smash like. Please subscribe to Game Over Montreal. Subscribe to Game Over Network, or any other teams that you want to pick up on. We've got the Battle of Ontario as well in the playoffs. We're not
Yes.
going to do crossovers because we talked about it and it's fun in the regular season, but Sens and Leafs fans having to deal with each other after a potential elimination, just it doesn't sound fun. So
No.
we're going to
And we all
separate into
deserve a safe
playoffs.
space. Yeah, we all deserve a safe
Exactly.
space too.
We
Yeah.
do. Let's let our fan flags fly a little bit. Let's be a little unhinged because it's the playoffs. We can do that, and then we can have
That
some
is my
fun.
specialty.
Damn right. All right, let's have some fun. This is all for us tonight. I could go on another 2 hours, but it
Same.
would punish me tomorrow morning. So the Montreal Canadiens, okay, playoff team.
Playoff team, and man, what a time to be alive. It's so over, we're so back, and I would just like to close with why not now? Why not us? As the Habs would say.
I forgot
Yeah.
that little tagline they had in preseason.
Yeah.
We need to bring that back.
We
Why
do.
not now?
I have a
Why
graphic
not
cooking
us?
up. I have a graphic cooking up, guys. I post my graphics, by the way, just a side note, on Blue Sky and Twitter, so either of those. I love making stuff, and I sometimes make good stuff. So follow me. Sorry, that was just a
100%.
self plug.
Uh, deserved. Deserved. Definitely follow Kay. Check us out on any social media. We're gonna post a lot of clips in the playoffs as well. We're gonna go really overdrive on
Yes.
pushing things out there. So this is a huge opportunity for us. If you love the Game Over Network, love what we do, please help us share stuff over the next couple of weeks here. This is an opportunity to find some of the audience that we lost when things fell apart at SDPN. I think we can make something truly special here. Put people
Yes.
in positions where they can be part of this community and share their passion for hockey in a way
Yeah.
that brings us together, instead of tearing people apart like terrible people around this sport, unfortunately. All right, I'm
Yeah.
rambling. We got to end it. But I'm just so excited to see you all in the playoffs because we haven't been able to do this before on this show. We've
It was
watched
so much
so many
fun.
losses together. I thought we were going to have a few more years of this, but here we are. Playoffs. See you next time.
Yes. Good night.